Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is Kristina Patrice with MusicFeedPro, and I have the opportunity to speak with industry veteran Wendy Day. So happy to have you here, Wendy. How are you today?
I'm great, and I'm so happy to be here. You doing okay today?
I am. Thank you. I am. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending some time with us. We're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. So you are the founder of Rap Coalition. It's a nonprofit organization. You're all about educating indie artists, being that advocate for artists when they're in the boardroom or in meeting rooms and maybe they're unaware of certain things that you're knowledgeable about. So I wanted you to just kind of detail what made you go the route of having a nonprofit organization to be an advocate in an industry that is very money-driven. What made you decide to take that route?
Insanity. I came to this as a fan of the music. You know, I was part of the hip-hop community in my late teen years. I'm a little bit older than the average bear. So I started listening to rap in 1980, and I just always loved the passion and the energy in the music. I still do today. I just really love the music. And the great thing about starting Rap Coalition is it was my way of giving back to the artists whose music I grew up on and loved. And as the company grew, I started it in 1992. So as the company grew, I got to really help pull some great artists out of messed up deals. And I also have had the opportunity to help educate a lot of up-and-coming rappers about what's fair and acceptable, how the industry works, how to make money with your music, etc.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely appreciate you creating the organization because so many people have grown from you, so many people have evolved from you, and people are continuously seeing you as that valuable resource. So we definitely appreciate
That's awesome.
that. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so
It's
much.
an industry where it's really hard to stay relevant, so I really pride myself on that.
And you know what, just to speak to that, I have a firm belief that, you know, relevance is it's a spiritual thing. You know, can people feel your vibration? And then when they feel your vibration, what do you leave in the room? You know, are you leaving peace? Are you leaving trust? Are you leaving compassion and understanding? So those are the things that I feel have kept you relevant. You know, the fact that when you step into the room, they know this is a warm energy. This is an advocate. This is someone who cares about me. And then
this is a friend, not a foe.
Exactly, and that energy transfers, you know. So one artist can say, hey, you know, Wendy was here and she helped me with this, and this, and then that word of mouth transfers to the next artist. So your energy is relevant in that way. I don't think it has to do with your age or the fact that you started, you know, back in 92 when things have changed systematically and technology-wise, but your energy has stayed consistent. And I think that is the part that is most powerful to me.
That's a great point. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome, no doubt. So everyone knows, you know, how you worked deals and brokered deals with Cash Money Records, Eminem, David Banner. You've done some work with Master P. What deal do you feel like you got the awareness, you got the confirmation that, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do? You know, this is no longer a hobby. This is no longer, hey, I'm here because I'm a fan of the art. When did it hit you, this is my purpose. This is what I need to focus on?
Probably Twista. In 1996, that was a deal that I did. Let me take a step back. I attended an industry event in Baltimore. It was a conference, and I learned how to put out music successfully.
Mm-hmm.
And I went from that industry event to Chicago, and I helped put out a record called Po Pimp by a group called Do or Die, and Twisted was featured on that record. And from that, I was able to build enough leverage for him in the marketplace so that a bidding war ensued, and instead of getting a regular artist deal, he was offered a joint venture with Atlantic Records, a 50-50 split. And up to that point, that was unheard of. Nobody had done that before. And that's when I realized that not only could I make a difference, but I could make a huge difference in people's lives. And that was my goal. Like, my goal wasn't just to do deals for rappers and get them signed to record labels. My goal was to get them deals that would feed their families for, in perpetuity, make their children's children wealthy.
Right, right. And, that speaks to, I'm big on intent. What is your intent? What is your driving force with this step, with this decision, with this proposal? And the fact that was always your intent, and to hear that, hey, this is something that was historical. Nobody had done a deal like this before. No one was thinking that deals like this could happen before. It just really speaks to what was your initial intent, and you just continue to, you planted that seed and you continue to water it, and then it came to fruition. So I'm really glad that you shared that, because that really speaks to me and confirms some things for me as well.
And also, if you look at the deals that I did as a group, there's about 13 of them, and I've been in the industry for 26 years. So had my goal really been to just get people signed to record labels, I probably would have done far more than 13 deals, because I kind of have access to all of the labels and I have access to all of the up-and-coming artists. So had my purpose been different, the result would be different.
Right. Wow. Okay. And that definitely makes sense when you're looking at that ratio. And that just goes to show that you're focused more on quality and integrity versus the quantity.
Definitely integrity. I realized very early on in my career that I was never going to become wealthy in the music industry. And the reason for that is I'm not willing to do the one thing that it takes to become wealthy in the music industry, and that's sign artists to me. When I did the deals for the artists that I've worked with, the goal was always to have them signed directly to the major label so that there wouldn't be a middleman, or as close to that as possible. That wasn't always possible because not every artist is independently wealthy. So you look at Juvenile and Lil Wayne and BG, they were signed to Cash Money, so that when I did the Cash Money deal, it was the Cash Money deal. It wasn't signing Juvenile directly to Universal.
Right.
But my goal has always been to get the artist as close to the money and as close to the decision maker as possible, and not sign them to me and then to the label or the entity. And, that's what a lot of folks out here do in the music industry is, like with Puffy and Jay-Z, they sign them to their own company, and then they sign their company to a larger label so that the money comes through them and they get to eat off of that split in between. I always wanted the artist to have that split. I always wanted the artist to have that control.
Right. And I'm glad you pointed that out, because when I think, back to the biopics and the documentaries that I've seen, the artists that have been mistreated the most when it comes to music, it has been that middle person. Like when the TLC movie came out,
Perfect example.
Right. They were signed to Pebbles, and then Pebbles was signed to the label. And it's like, when you just said that, I saw New Edition, I saw Mace, I saw all these different people that I've read about and studied, and how that middleman is the one that
the problem.
They're getting a chunk of the dollar before the artist even sees a quarter. So
and they're getting the largest chunk, and it doesn't make sense to me because they're not the talent. It's sort of implying that the money matters more than the music, and I just don't believe that. I think the art form matters more than anything.
Right. And the fact that you're not just saying that, but you actually handle business
walk the walk
in that manner, right? It speaks volumes to your character. It really does. It puts that priceless, tag on when people get a chance to sit down and speak with you. Okay, this is someone who really has your best interest at heart. They're not looking to get rich off of you as an artist. They're looking to help you become rich, and that to me is priceless. That's invaluable. So I'm so glad that you shared that, and it really painted a crystal clear picture for me.
It's also not just them getting wealth; it's them having the ownership and the control. Because in the music industry, he who has the money usually has the control, and I've always wanted to ensure that the artist gets to call the shots for their own career, that they have the control, they have the ability to say, if they want to make music that's more positive, they get to do that. If they want to make music that's less positive, they get to do that. If they want to make, shake your ass music, they get to do that. The label doesn't get to dictate what output comes from the artist. The artist actually gains control over that. And that's as important to me as the money.
Right. Wow, that is awesome. That is really some good knowledge. It really is. I appreciate you sharing that. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about, we've kind of mentioned it here, is I'm really big on sharing knowledge. A lot of people, they hoard knowledge. It's like, okay, I'm aware of this, but I'm not going to tell you, or hey, this works for me, but I'm not going to tell you. Yes, it's like
I'm not going to tell you what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
It is, and it's it is a sickness, and it makes my stomach turn when I see people do that. And when I came across the Raponomics, the fact that you have all of this data out here that's available about the music industry, it just touched me because I'm one of those people. I feel like when you are sharing knowledge, you're making room to acquire more knowledge. But when you hoard things off, it's you don't have the room. You don't have the room to receive more. You know what I mean? So
yes.
I really like that concept with you. And I just wanted to know, is this something that came from childhood? Was Wendy the one who always shared her toys as a child?
Yes.
Or did this okay. That's what I wanted you to kind of elaborate on that.
I love that you asked this because nobody has ever asked me this before, and it's such a big part of who I am. It's how I was raised. As a child, I was raised that as human beings, it was we, it was us, and it was never about I or me. And it was sort of we're all in this together, and it's our job as human beings to help each other and share. My earliest recollection is that I wanted to be a teacher and help educate kindergartners and first graders about life and knowledgeable lessons. As I got older, that became less attractive to me, but I've always had that element of helping my fellow man. If I'm walking down the street and I see somebody trip and fall, I'm going to stop and help them get up. If I see somebody lost, I'm going to ask them, do they need directions? If I'm in a classroom situation and I see, one of my peers struggling to figure something out,
open and form roots and take hold, you just have the confidence and the know that, hey, this is going to happen. I'm going to do what's right. Exactly. And then when that seed blossoms and it grows and it takes root and it produces fruit, you're able to take that fruit and share it. You're able to take seeds from
Yes.
that fruit and plant it again. And that's the way
Yes.
things work. And I totally agree with you about, knowledge, about money, about just anything that you can have as a tool to grow, because knowledge is a tool. Money is a tool. You're using that to exchange goods and services. And it's just like, these are things that you don't have to hoard to make you feel more of or better than. The person who shares is the person that continues to succeed. So
exactly.
I'm so glad that you elaborated on that. And that's one of the things that attracted me the most to you. I picked up at one time, it was in 2012, and moved to New York and just really tried to make it happen in this industry. And anybody that I met was like, oh, my God, you act like Wendy Day. You sound like Wendy Day.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I'm serious. They were like, this is how I found out about you, because I heard it so much. They're like, you really care about the artist. You're really concerned, is the artist okay?
Yeah.
Like when I would do studio sessions, hey, what snacks do you need? What do you want to drink? Do you need something to smoke? What can I do to make you comfortable so that you can put out the track that you're going to be satisfied with? And that's when I would hear that people said, oh, my God, you remind me of Wendy Day, or have you heard of Wendy Day? So I'm
so
just
cool.
so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad that, I wasn't alone on my thought process with that. So I'm so glad that you shared that.
And I've also learned that it really comes back to you, not that you should ever do it for this reason, like you should give unconditionally, not because of what you're going to get in return. But I've noticed, like with my own life and my own path, like sometimes doors open so easily for me just because of who I am and what I've done in the past. And the best example I can give you is most recently, I've been really struggling to get one of my clients on playlists in Spotify, and I haven't been able to really crack that code. So I've been making a concerted effort for like the past, I'd say 2 months to really enable that to happen. And as I go deeper into that vein, more and more people will greet me and say, oh my God, you played such a role in my past, or I used to come to your panel discussions at ASCAP that you used to do for free. Here, let me help you. And it's both people that can like put my artist on playlists, as well as people that are like, oh, here, let me introduce you to somebody that can help you. And the abundance that has come back to me is just so humbling. And again, I didn't do it for that reason at all. I did it because it was the right thing to do. But, here it is like 20 years later, and it's paying off. It's like I said, it's so humbling.
That is an example of planting those seeds with righteous energy, and then the harvest, I'm a big believer, the harvest always returns to you. It always does. So I'm grateful that you are, benefiting from that. And the fact that you didn't do it for that reason, but it still came back to you, it just confirms that
it's just awesome.
The law of attraction, it is. And the law of attraction does not care about your feelings. It's going to give you what you give it. That's just how it works. So
yes, and it's going to give you what you need. Sometimes you don't always know what it is that you need, but it gives you what you need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the things you just mentioned, I do have a note here. You mentioned ASCAP and the panels you used to do. Is there a preference? Do you feel like indie artists should take the route of BMI versus ASCAP? Are they similar, and then there's slight preferences that the artist may prefer over the other? Do you have any feedback on that?
I don't. They're both pretty much the same. They do the same thing. ASCAP is an organization of artists. BMI is an association of broadcasters. And I always felt like if I'm going to police broadcasters, I'm not going to join an organization of broadcasters, because I don't know that broadcasters will police themselves as well as artists will police the broadcasters. So from a logical point of view, I don't see a difference. from my experience, I've learned that they're both not accurate, so you've got to really take an active role in your own career and really check your statements and have a team of people that know what you should be receiving in terms of your public performance royalties, which is what ASCAP and BMI are. You need to have people on your team that will know, okay, you've gotten X amount of radio spins for a certain length of time, therefore your income should be around, this amount. So when your royalties come in, they can look at your royalty statements and say, hey, this isn't right. This isn't the right amount of money for the amount of radio play or live shows that my client has done. You just have to have people around you that are knowledgeable and can educate you on what those statements should look like and what's realistic for what you've accomplished.
Absolutely. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Yep. And then you audit. If the numbers don't look right, then you send in an auditor to figure out, whether or not you've been shorted. If you have been shorted, where that occurred, and then you work out a plan so that they can pay you what's owed.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you again. Very, very valuable information. So I have a few quotes that I gathered from your book, How to Get a Record Deal. And I want to start with one, since we're talking about having knowledgeable people around us. One of the things that she said in the book is, I have learned to never believe anything a label tells me verbally. If it's not in the contract, they aren't obligated to do it. So
My God, that's true.
Yeah, you said it.
Yep. So, and it's true in life as well, like not just in the music business. Like any kind of negotiation you do or any agreement, if they have said it verbally and they promised it to you, but they haven't followed it up in writing, they don't owe it to you.
Right. And that's why I wanted to bring this up, because not only I agree with you, it's not just something about the music industry. This is like, your employer, if they can verbalize one thing when they offer you a job, but is it listed in the offer letter? Same thing with you getting a lease or a mortgage.
Rental agreement or a mortgage. Yeah.
Right. They can tell you all of this, but hey, if it's not in the lease agreement, if it's not listed in my mortgage. Right. Oh, there's no late fee. You have a grace period. Yeah, right. So I love that statement. And I wanted to ask you, was there a contractual agreement that went wrong or you felt like could have been could have been done differently to make you say this? Or was this just a time of reflection and you were thinking or plotting or planning?
No, No, everything that I've learned is based on fact. It's based on things that I experienced, and it wasn't just one thing that led to it. It was pretty much every artist who's had a contract that I've broken. They have said to me, "Oh, well, the label said, or the production company said, or the manager said, if I'm not happy, I can just leave," or I've heard artists say, they promised that they were going to put $1 million into marketing into my career. I've heard artists say, the person who signed me, his name is John Smith. I'm just making up a name. His name is John Smith, and they told me if John leaves the company, I can go with him. And if these things aren't in writing, they're not true.
Wow.
I've just found that labels will, it's a sales environment, and the label is selling you on why you should come to their label, especially if there's a bidding war situation. And just like a used car salesman will tell you whatever they think you want to hear, so will a label to try to get you to sign there. And sometimes they mean it when they say it, but sometimes they don't. And you've got to really make sure that you're prepared and protected for the things that you want, to make sure that if you really want something out of a label and they've promised it, just make sure that they put it in writing so that you get it. It's really that simple.
Right, right. And then the whole thing is just being confident enough to say, hey, this is what I feel is fair, and I'm going to wait it out until
I get what I need.
You know, right. I feel like that is very important, too, because sometimes people are so antsy, they're so anxious to have a deal to where it's a situation like the saying, all money isn't good money. Hey, all deals are good deals. So you need to take your time.
I think if an artist is anxious to have a deal, then they don't really understand what a deal is. I think in life, anytime you're super, super anxious to have something, you're looking at the dream and the fantasy of what something could be, not the reality of what it is.
Absolutely. 100%. I 100% agree with you. And that's
because I think if you know what it is, then you build yourself to earn the achievement of whatever it is that you're going for. You don't sit back and say, oh, please sign me, please sign me, please sign me. That's giving them the power. If you really want to be signed and you know what that means and you know what the benefits and the detriments of that are, you're going to put yourself into a position to be seen by that label, know exactly what it is that they're looking for, and you're going to show them that you've got the attributes that they want.
Absolutely.
It's more preparedness.
And then just having the confidence in what you're bringing to the table, because at the end of the day, the label needs you. You are the talent. You are the product. You are the artist. They need you. And when you have that confidence and you know, hey, I am bringing a creative force that no other artist has. When you have that type of confidence, you're okay with waiting it out because you know your value. You're not looking for a label to validate you. You have already validated yourself. So I think, I think that's very important. So I appreciate.
And we live in a society where we're taught that the art is not the value that the money is.
Right.
And one of the things that I learned very early on, like the first lesson that I learned in the music business was, if you can sing or if you can rap, you can put out your music. Even back then, it was, cassettes and CDs. So if you could make a CD, you could go out on the street and you could sell it for $5. But if you were the label, you couldn't make music that would be marketable. So that tells me that just in the balance of power, that the real value is with the artist, because the artist can still make money with their music, but the label can't create music out of thin air.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to kind of piggyback off of that, another question I wanted to ask you, now that we're talking about artists and having confidence in themselves and knowing what they bring to the table, what should an artist focus on before considering monetization? And I ask that because so many, I'm going to get, this apparel, or I'm going to go out and sell this, or I want to make sure I'm having money come in off of these streaming platforms. And I look and I'm like, you're not even ready for that. You don't even have the tools in place to where if someone looks you up or if someone asks about you, there's no original content to support your brand. There's no mission or vision statement that you have in mind to support you. If a label steps to you and asks you, what's your goals for this quarter? Where do you see yourself in 180 days? What are your plans over the next 12 months? If you can't speak to that, that's where your focus needs to be versus monetization.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were.
I love that you asked that. I wrote an article called The 10 Things You Need to Do Before You Even Put Out Your Music, because there's basics. There's basics like, copywriting, joining ASCAP or BMI, mixing and mastering your music, making sure that the music is marketable. Like, there's so many things you need to do before you even put your music out into the universe. And so many artists are so anxious, and sadly, they're not even anxious for the money, they're anxious for the fame.
Oh, I knew you were going to say.
And they jump the gun and put stuff out before it's even ready. Like, even one of my clients who, has the benefit of access to me 24/7, he made a song 2 weeks ago that looks like it's going to be a hit record. It's reacting really well, but he recorded it and he released it without mixing and mastering it. So now we're in this really messed up position of chasing the bad copies so that we can pull it back and make sure that only the clean, good copies, the crisp copies are out there. And additionally, when he put it out there, he put out a song that's only 2 minutes long. And his intention was to, at some point, get radio play. And it wasn't until his radio guy that I brought to the table for him said, 2 minutes, this is too short. You're going to have to elongate this song. And it was just, he didn't know any better. He made a song. He was really proud of it. His friends liked it. He put it on Instagram. He got a great response. A couple of DJs asked him for it because they saw it on his Instagram page, and it spiraled. And then we got it along in this process before I had even had a chance to like really hear the record. That's how quickly it happened. The radio guy's calling me saying, "Hey, dude's song is amazing, but it's too short." And my response was, "What song? Like, what are you talking about?"
I'm not surprised, but I am glad that you were able to get in and navigate the current to get everything the way it's supposed to be. But the thing with
it's so much work to clean up a mess. It's so much easier to just do it right.
I know, and it's like, and that kind of leads to my next question, where I was going to ask you about timing. But I don't know what it is to where, like, I'm a creator as far as writing and filmmaking, but so I understand creativity. I understand wanting to create and wanting to share it and wanting it to be released. And I try to use that mindset when I'm having empathy with artists. But it's something with them, musical artists, to where it's like, I've just got to put it out there so other people can know I'm working. It's best to wait.
I just had this conversation with oh my gosh, I can't believe you mentioned this. I just had this exact conversation with a rapper this morning who said to me he's got 2 investors looking at him. And he's in a really enviable position, and he doesn't want to wait for the deal to be done. He just wants to put music out. And he said to me this morning, I'm going to put out this song. And he sent me the song, and he sent me the artwork for the cover. So I knew he had really thought it out because he had the artwork done, and it's been mixed and mastered. And I said to him, far be it from me to stop you, because he's my friend. He's not my client. However, you have no budget, so you're going to put this out into the ether where there's just a lot of oversaturation. What happens if this song doesn't spread the way that you think it will? What happens if it just kind of lays there and only gets like a few thousand listens? You've got 2 people who are each considering putting in over $100,000 to get your career to the next level. What if they look at it and say, oh, that didn't have a good reaction? And what happens if you lose their interest because the song didn't do what their educated mind tells them it should do? And you as an artist, you may be happy because you just wanted something on your Instagram to have people talking about you. But them being experienced, are looking at it saying, wow, this is a failure.
Right,
if you're already
right.
signed to them and that happens, they're going to give you a second chance because they're going to want to make their money back. But if you're not signed to them yet, do you really think they're going to give you a second chance, and that second chance involves them putting up hundreds of thousands of dollars? Probably not.
No.
So why would you take that risk?
And they don't understand that, you know, in their mind, I got to put something out. I want, you know, people to be talking about me. I want to be the topic of discussion. Is that more important to you than you putting out something solid? And you're not the topic of discussion. Exactly. And you're not the topic of discussion for today, but you are the topic of discussion for many, 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 many days that leads into weeks and months, to where people who, like you said, these educated individuals who have some money to invest in you, it'll turn into it turns into several educated individuals looking at, oh, he's doing this. He's doing this. His momentum is here, you know.
Exactly. And that's what the artist said to me. He said, this is really a balance between satisfying my need for immediacy and doing what's right. And
you know what that is? You know what that is?
Say it again?
I said, you know what that is? That's the battle of the ego and the soul. Because the ego wants to consistently be fed quickly, even if it's a meal that's not well done. But the soul wants to be fed a nutritious and valuable meal that is going to bless the domain further. The ego just wants that quick meal to where you'll be hungry.
Now.
Right. You'll be hungry again in 2 more hours when you feed the ego. But when you feed the soul, you're going to be full for a long time.
Exactly.
And that's what it really is.
Exactly.
So I'm just like, but I'm so glad that you are.
But that's been my biggest battle as a consultant, which is of course the for-profit side of what I do. I help artists put out their music and monetize their music and become successful. And that's my biggest battle, right? Well, actually, I have 2 big battles. That, keeping the artist from doing things that what they believe will give them instant gratification or fame, as opposed to doing what's right and building a solid foundation for their career. And then the second challenge that I've always had, which is just as equal, is everybody tells me they want help and everybody tells me that they want to move forward, but it's hard to tell who really wants help and who just says they want help. And that's always been super challenging. Sometimes I'll go down the road with a client and realize they're not trying to win. They're just trying to play the game. They're just trying to look like they're doing something, but they're not really trying to win. They're sabotaging themselves along the way. And that's always been a challenge.
And you know what? I can empathize with you on both of those. Of course, I haven't worked with anybody on the level that, you know, that you have worked with people, but I'm a firm believer that energy is energy, and whether you're working with somebody who's a multimillionaire or somebody who has a job that they clock in on every day and they're able to only do so much, if the energy matches, you're dealing with the same type of people. So,
yes, I agree.
And that,
like you said, money is a tool, and some people just have more tools.
Exactly. So I have dealt with that as well, and I'm just glad to hear that no matter what, you are staying grounded and you are, you know, giving out that positive energy, because I was having an issue with that, where it's like, I know I'm telling you the right thing. I know I'm telling you the truth. Why are you not listening? But I had to realize it's not me. If a person is focused on fame only, of course they're not going to worry about what I'm saying, and I'm trying to help you longevity-wise. I'm trying to make sure that your kids can eat and their kids can eat. You're not going to hear me because you're only focused on fame. So that has nothing to do with what I'm saying. And your goals are not aligned. Exactly. That is so true. I know we need to kind of wrap up, so I want to get to a couple of other things. You kind of touched on some of the things that I mentioned. So I did want to ask you, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit, that I'm really big on energy. To me, your energy is more important than how talented you are, because we can always work on the talent part, and that's what I have here. I have here that I feel like you feel the exact same way. So I want to know, what do you look for in an artist's energetic vibration? What about them says, hey, I want to build with you. I want to consult you. I want you to win. What do you see in an artist that makes you commit to their journey?
Well, the thing that attracts me initially has nothing to do with vibration, which is surprising. The first thing that attracts me is the buzz that they've built. So it's the amount of work that they've put in to get themselves noticed by their fan base. I don't mean the fame. I mean, actually, they've gone out there and they've worked, they've given out their music, they've interacted on their social media with different potential fans, converted them to fans, and now they're sort of building their movement, if you will. That attracts me first. And then when I'm looking in at the artist, I look at how they react to me, how they respond, how long it takes them to respond, who's around them, because I've noticed in my career that people tend to surround themselves with people who are like-minded. So if everybody on your team is an asshole, there's a really good chance that you're one too. If everybody on your team is trying to get over and buy likes and buy friends and buy followers, then you're probably someone that has little substance yourself. So I look at that first. Then I look at the level of talent. Like, is this a person who can really grow? How devoted are they to what they're trying to accomplish? And I try not to look at content. Like, I try not to discriminate based on what somebody is saying, because not everybody is at the same level of self-awareness that I am.
Right.
And just because, like, somebody might be in a song talking about shooting and killing and selling drugs, it doesn't mean that 5 years from now they're not going to be a productive member of society. It just means that they're at a different intellectual level of knowledge and awareness of self than I am. So I try not to discriminate on that. It's not easy, because I don't always love the lyrics that I hear. Most new artists don't talk about things that they know. They talk about things that they think others want to hear from them. And I try not to discriminate on what somebody is speaking about in their music. The next thing that I look at is how open is that person to receiving input and knowledge and help. Because I just, I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to try to help somebody that's just going to fight me every step of the way. And I've gotten pretty good at being able to tell, who really wants my help and who doesn't. And then the last thing I look at is, and again, this has nothing to do with the lyrics, but how productive a member of society is this person going to be? Meaning, when this person becomes a millionaire or a multimillionaire, are they going to be Scrooge McDuck and just sit on a pile of money? Or are they going to give back and make a difference in society? And there have been artists that I've worked with where people don't really understand why I would choose to help somebody with the type of lyrics that they make. But it came down to the fact that, they're feeding the homeless every Friday, or they're helping the families of children in their neighborhood that can't afford to, give their kids a good life, or whenever somebody passes away, they're burying that person so that their family doesn't have to, take on an added expense. Or if somebody is sick and goes to the hospital, they're paying the medical expenses. For me, it's when you contribute to society, it's not just words. For me, it's also actions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you spoke on that. And it's so important for artists to understand that there's so many moving parts to the music industry that go beyond your lyrics and your music. That is a small fragment of the music industry. So I appreciate the fact that you are looking at all these different characteristics because, like you said, it is your time. And you're the one with the wealth of knowledge. You're the one with the resources. And I think it's really important.
And it's a responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to teach someone how to shoot that uses that skill to shoot at food and feed people? Or am I going to teach that skill to somebody who shoots others because they want power, or they don't like how somebody looked at them in a nightclub, and I've taught them how to shoot, so now they can effectively kill. It's a responsibility, and I don't take it lightly, and I don't think anybody should take it lightly.
And that speaks even more to your character, because someone who's money driven doesn't care what you shoot.
No, they just want to make a buck. Right. They just want to sell the gun, and then once they sell the gun, they want to make sure that they've got the line on the bullets so they can keep making money selling ammunition.
Right. Absolutely. And that is so true. And I'm glad you broke that down the way that you did. I did want to ask you what your thoughts were on MusicFeedPro. Of course, we are a site for serious music enthusiasts. So instead of posting music on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter where other people are posting about weddings or a new pet or they just had a newborn baby, this is a site to where producers, engineers, songwriters, promoters, they can all connect in a trusted environment. So with you having the experience that you have in the music industry and checking out MusicFeedPro, what are your thoughts on what value it can bring to the music industry as far as connecting the dots with certain people? I did want to hear your thoughts on the site as a whole.
Absolutely, and I have positive and I have critical as well. So just to give you that upfront, take a deep breath. I think it's a wonderful site. I love the idea. I love that it's a place where somebody who wants to get a hold of like a Lenny S. can, or if somebody's looking for production, they can go there and they can find a producer, or even more importantly, if someone's an up-and-coming producer, they can submit tracks and get feedback from someone more experienced. I love the whole concept of it. My concern with any site like this is who actually goes in to make sure that the people are exactly who they say that they are. In other words, what prevents me from signing up and saying that P. Diddy, and send me your music and, et cetera. And is there a vetting process, even if the people really are who they say they are, is there a vetting process to make sure that they're not using your site to take advantage of artists? And let me just give you an example. And, I'm going to assume that this has not happened, because you probably would have stopped it based on who you are as a person. But, what if somebody uploads a track to someone who says they're an A&R person, and then that track is stolen from the up-and-coming artist and used on the next Beyonce album, or the next Jay-Z album, or the next Chris Brown album, or whoever? Is there some sort of process in place so that if that does happen and the newer artist comes to you and says, hey, on August 31st, I uploaded this to, XYZ, and they stole my track, does your organization then give them help to sue or fight that in court, or is there a process in place where you can vet so that if somebody is known to steal tracks, they don't have access to your site? There's a lot of producers out there that, inside the industry, we all kind of know who they are, the ones that jack tracks. Is there, if that person comes and wants to be on your site, are they able to join, or do you say no? We have a vetting process, and, in 2015, you stole this person's track, and in 2018, you got sued for doing this. I just would hate to see you become an unwitting co-conspirator because you were trying to give a platform, and there's certainly a need for what you're doing. I think there just needs to be some sort of a power base or a large amount of funding behind what you're doing, so that the folks that are kind of the predators in this industry will be a little bit afraid to join a site like this for fear of getting sued or for fear of whatever retribution comes from them doing what they shouldn't be doing.
Right.
And that's not unique to your site. There's a couple of sites out here that all kind of matchmake. And I have the same criticism of all of them. It's not unique to just yours.
No, I welcome everything that you said. Everything that you said was valuable, and everything that you said makes 100% sense. And that is something that I'm glad that you're sharing, and I'll be sharing.
Yeah, but I don't have a solution.
Well,
so it wasn't really helpful.
No, it was very helpful, because we do have a checks and balances processes for the people who are, soliciting music and things like that. And our president used to be the senior VP of A&R for Bad Boy for many years, and he's aware of a lot of people in the industry. And like you just said, he knows, people who are known for So, and he keeps his ear to the streets on certain things. But the way that you just explained it, he's going to hear this interview as well, but I'm going to elaborate to him, as well, to see if the checks and balances that him and the co-founder have include some kind of stipulation there to where we would support or be an advocate for an indie artist that could possibly happen to. So I'm glad that you shared that, and it's very, very valuable, and I 100% appreciate it, because with you working with artists every day and protecting their asset and having a huge respect and honor for their intellectual property, that is some valuable feedback. So I really do appreciate that.
We have a joke in my office, and we get an inordinate amount of complaints from artists. One of the biggest scams out here is someone will send an email, and they usually do this to somebody with an account like at Reverb Nation or CD Baby, and for some reason the newer do-it-yourself artists seem to be the prey that the predators feed on, and they'll send out a letter saying that they're an A&R for Sony Music or Bad Boy or whoever. And they'll say something to the effect of, oh, I really love your music, and I think with a little bit better production that our label would consider signing you. And, oh, by the way, I have access to some tracks by, and then, fill in the blank producer name here. It could be Timberland. It could be Mike Will Made It. It could be a smaller producer like Sunny Digital or Metro Boomin or Zaytoven. But it's always some sort of a recognizable name that's somewhat realistic. And they're told by this A&R person that for $1,000 or $500 or $2,000 or $2,500, whatever price, that they have the ability to have access to these tracks, and then they could record on them and then this person sending the email as an A&R person would be happy to bring it to their committee and see if the label would want to sign them. And of course the artist gets really excited by this, and they scrape together their little money, and they find a way to make that happen. And the joke in my office is that the number one A&R person whose name they use is Lenny S. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because Lenny, is so outspokenly helpful to artists. He goes around the country speaking. And Lenny hasn't been an A&R guy for a very long time. And yet there's still these emails that are supposedly from him circulating on the internet. It's why somebody spoofs him more than anybody else, I don't know. But anytime that I see, the real Lenny S somewhere, I always question, now wait, is this Lenny S, the real Lenny S, or is this Lenny S, the spoofed make-believe guy that's trying to scam somebody? And it's so disheartening. And poor Lenny, you know what I mean?
And he's such a nice guy. He's genuinely
such a nice guy, and he's so genuine, and he's so helpful to anybody that needs help. It's just mind-boggling to me that that this even happens. But that's one of the things that I wondered when I looked at the site. Okay, is there a way that they're able to check and see, is this really, like a Lenny S, for example, if he signs up, do they look for the rocknation.com address, or is it, I am Lenny S at Gmail?
Well, there, like I said, with people of his caliber, like Lenny S, definitely that's his real profile on our page, and even if you go to his Instagram, he has posted that he supports MusicFeedPro.
I love it.
He welcomes.
So then the artist will know if they do the proper research. Oh, cool, this really is Lenny S.
Right. So
I'm so thankful.
People of that caliber, we have, a checks and balances with, and plus he's really good friends with our founder. So that. I know for a fact, that part is there. But still, when you mentioned, somebody, Joe Schmo, could say, hey, I'm A&R with Come Get Your Crab Leg Records,
Exactly.
You want to make sure, somebody
You want to make sure he's really with Come Get Your Crab Leg Records. Right,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I'm glad that you brought that up because, for the people that we may not know personally, it's still very good feedback, and I appreciate you sharing that with me. So I wanted to say again,
sad that we even have to worry about that. It's so sad that that's even an issue in this business.
But it's so true. I mean, just with anything, when I'm checking out at Walmart, I have to double check everything because it's just where we are right now. Not just the music industry, but just life in general. We have to do these checks and balances when we shouldn't have to. But I do want to say thank you so much for your time. And I wanted to ask you if you could share what's next with you and how we can find you on social media and online.
Absolutely. I'm in the process of putting together an educational series. I'm going to do it online, but I think that I'm going to do it live and stream it online instead of just doing it online. And it's a precursor for a website that I'm trying to launch probably sometime between January and March. March is probably most realistic. And that site is slavesnomore.com. It's an educational site where artists can come and learn about the music industry. As I said, I'm trying to start that with a live, a streamed event so that people can actually get some free knowledge as a basis to start that program. I'm in the process of putting together an incubator for artists. I don't quite have the funding in place. I thought that I did, but the folks that were going to fund it had a problem with me letting the artists retain ownership.
Oh, God.
And apparently that didn't work with their system of investment. So I'm back looking for investors for that. That will probably be up and running after the first of the year. And of course, I'm always speaking on panels anywhere that I can, just to educate artists about what's coming. And the best way to follow me is to either go to wendyday.com or to follow me on Instagram. Instagram seems to be the social media of my choice. I'm not quite sure why I chose Instagram. It seems to be the easiest one for me. I'm not a Facebook person. I'm not a Twitter person. I just seem to really gravitate towards Instagram, and it's at Rap Coalition on Instagram. That's how to find me and keep up with me.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you. As usual, anytime I hear you speak, I learn something. And we look forward to all of your successes in the future.
Thank you so much, and thanks for doing this. I love that you're sharing access to people that, people may not normally be able to just spend, the time that you just did with me. And I love that you did that, and I love that you're sharing it. And please keep that up.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I love what you're doing.
Thank you.